You're listening to the Throttle to the Floor podcast. Hey y'all, welcome to today's episode of the Throttle to the Floor podcast. I'm your host, Earnest, here today with my guest, Noah Altman.
What up?
Got some big news, obviously coming up this weekend with Cup and O'Reilly's at Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, and trucks and IndyCar on the streets of St. Petersburg, Florida. Trucks especially is going to be crazy, but we'll get to that more in a minute. But first, some other news. I want to start with the All-Star race at Dover in May coming up here. I mean, that format it was just announced a few days ago, and I think just the biggest change is that the All-Star race, it will now have 3 segments that are, I guess, encompassing the full race, which is like 350 laps, which is almost a normal-sized Dover race, which a normal-sized Dover race for Cup cars is 400 laps, so it's, yeah, but the first and second segments are 75 laps, and the final segment is 200 laps, so, like, basically, it's kind of like everybody will be in the All-Star race in, like, the first segment, and then after the first segment, they'll invert the top 26, and then at the end of the second segment, it's, like, whoever, like, finishes, like, the, like, combined like lowest finishing positions at the end of the second segment is like part of the 26 drivers that advance to the final segment. It's very complicated, but it almost kind of very vaguely and loosely reminds me of like the old Winston All-Star race days, but I don't know. Some other news, NASCAR's Full Speed documentary, it's now being moved to Amazon Prime from Netflix, and this year it'll just be focused on the 2026 Daytona 500, which just happened, of course, instead of the 2025 playoffs, probably because like the playoffs aren't around anymore. It's the chase now.
Yeah.
But being that it's just like one documentary episode, it's a much quicker turnaround time, and the episode will end up being released on March 5th. But also the prior 2 seasons of NASCAR Full Speed, which focused on the 2023 and 2024 playoffs, that'll also be made available on Amazon Prime as well. Some driver news now. NASCAR O'Reilly Series regular Austin Hill once again in the 33 car for Richard Childress Racing. He's going to make 5 starts this year. At least that's what's confirmed so far. That'll start with the Spring Phoenix race on March 8th. United Rentals will sponsor the effort. Atlanta TV ratings from last week, it pulled 4.487 million viewers, which is technically down 2% from last year. But, I mean, it had the Cup cars, they had to partially compete with the Olympics closing ceremony, so I mean, you know, it's decent numbers. And I forgot to mention this back on Monday, but Fox has committed to running like during green flag, every single green flag laps they're running side-by-side commercials, so there will be no full screen commercials during green flag racing. They won't go to full screen commercials until it's a caution or a red flag. So, big move there. Fox is actually trying to make some improvements finally, which they've received a lot of criticism, both from me and Evan and Noah on this podcast, and just throughout the industry in general. Fox has definitely a lot that they can work on, and they're trying to do better. I mean, I haven't seen really too many egregious, like really bad camera angles yet, but I don't know. I mean, with COTA this week, it's going to be a big test.
Which I mean, at least Fox is trying to take steps in the right direction and not taking steps backwards.
Yeah, because as much as we've slammed on Fox, and as much as Fox has just gotten slammed by the fans, I mean, it could be a lot worse. there's been a lot worse coverage. So, some more lawsuit news. In the lawsuit between Joe Gibbs Racing and Spire Motorsports. Joe Gibbs Racing, they add Spire Motorsports as the defendant along with Chris Gabehart in the ongoing lawsuit, and JGR, they're trying to seek for a temporary restraining order, and everybody's favorite two words from the big NASCAR antitrust lawsuit that we heard over and over and over and over again, preliminary injunction. But the judge ordered today that JGR, Gabehart, and Spires, all their attorneys, they're going to have to come up with a resolution by Sunday night. Otherwise, the judge will make a ruling on Monday. But I don't know, just another ugly lawsuit. We just can't seem to get away from lawsuits. I mean, you had the big NASCAR antitrust lawsuit. In the middle of that, you had another small lawsuit. It was Legacy Motor Club and Rick Ware over a charter dispute, but at least that got settled calmly. You have this lawsuit. You have Kyle Busch, where he and his family just settled that lawsuit from Pacific Life Insurance after getting scammed from that. So just a lot of lawsuits. But yeah, we just got done with the big NASCAR antitrust lawsuit back in December on the other side of the NASCAR off season, and now we're back into full swing once again, talking about lawsuits and preliminary injunctions and
all that fun stuff.
Yes. But some good news. Martinsville Speedway, their famous grandfather clock trophy, their one manufacturer, they shut down. It was looking kind of bleak, but they found a new manufacturer, Hermel North America. It's for their iconic grandfather clock trophy, of course, and it's now named after H. Clay Earls, their original founder from 1948, and of course with Martinsville Speedway being NASCAR's oldest track and the only track still left from their original schedule way, way, way back in 1949, Martinsville has awarded a full-size grandfather clock, like a full-size one that you'd find in your living room, but they've awarded it for every race at the track since 1964.
And it's a good thing they didn't have to give up that tradition, because that just would have sucked.
I mean, getting a Martinsville grandfather clock is like probably top 5 up there with trophies and just races that you want to win in general. Up there with Daytona 500 and the Brickyard 400 and pretty much just, the Coke 600 and the Southern 500, just the other 4 crown jewels. I mean, Martinsville, it's not a crown jewel, but just the history behind it, being it's the only track left from NASCAR's original schedule. It has all that history. But getting into St. Petersburg now for IndyCar, their season opener. But I want to start with trucks. Of course, the trucks, they race on the first ever street course in series history, and with Corey Heim not being in the field, somebody new will win a Truck Series road course, or I guess race where you're turning right and left, if you will, for the first time since Zane Smith won at Circuit of the Americas in 2023. It's been 3 years since somebody other than Corey Heim has won a road course race in trucks. So yeah, it's Heim. He's won the last 5 Truck Series road course races in a row. But tons of other talent from other disciplines will be making one-off truck starts this weekend. Some of them being 4-time IndyCar champion Dario Franchitti in the one truck for Tricon. Noah's pick, as we'll get to our truck picks in a minute, but Colin Brown, he won the 2023 Rolex 24 overall. He drives full-time in IMSA, and he actually won a truck race back in Michigan in 2009.
And honestly, I'm really excited to see how he does in street course.
Yeah, he's used to driving IMSA sports cars, but now it's a street course, and IMSA does run street courses sometimes, but it's not an IMSA sports car. It's a big, heavy NASCAR truck,
which is going to be a lot different with the amount of weight in that.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then also James Hinchcliffe, who won in IndyCar the St. Petersburg race in 2013. He'll be in the 77 for Spire. But I think that it'll be a race of attrition, as we've seen crazy IndyCar moments just with them racing on this street course, and they've been racing it for over 20 years now. But particularly at turns 1 and 2 at the end of the front stretch, which the front stretch uses one of the runways from the Albert Whitted Airport. But if IndyCar can be as crazy as they've been, as we've seen big crashes, we've seen cars get airborne on a street course, which sounds hard to believe, but it's been happening. It's a very tight space with the street course. There's nowhere to run and hide. I mean, unlike a road course where you have a bunch of runoffs, a street course, if you get loose, you're most likely hitting the wall.
Yeah, and what doesn't help with that is the trucks barely got any practice today because it got rained out 10 minutes into practice. Qualifying got canceled, so a lot of these trucks don't have a lot of experience for this street course.
That's a good point. I mean, like you said, I mean, it's the first time they've ever run a street course, but honestly, there's just being the Truck Series, it's a third-tier NASCAR series, so like a lot of these guys are just running their first NASCAR National Series starts. They're getting their first laps in a truck. I mean, did Minnie Tyrell really think like a year ago he was gonna win Rams Race for the Seat, and it's just, oh hey, here's a street course, you know? Like, it's going to be tight. It's going to be wild. It's going to be hard to control those heavy, big, boxy, bulky, sliding trucks on a almost green track, because practice and qualifying, I mean, practice barely got started, and then boom, rain. And the only thing that's going to put rubber down is, like, IndyCar's got second practice tomorrow morning, but that's it. And I haven't looked at the forecast yet, but honestly, I wouldn't be surprised being Florida if it's raining again tomorrow. But fingers crossed that we don't get that. But I don't know. This truck race is going to be crazy. But, I mean, like you said, Noah, practice even barely got started. Everybody ran between 1 to 8 laps of practice. That's it before that rain came. So, I mean, do with that as you will, I guess. But, yeah. Our picks for St. Petersburg in the trucks. I'm picking Gio Ruggiero, which, with qualifying getting rained out with the metric, he'll start second. Evan's picking Daniel Dye. Haley's picking Stuart Friesen. Stacy's picking Chandler Smith. Bernardo's picking Enfinger. And Noah, as we mentioned, he's picking Colin Brown.
Really excited to see how he does.
And I do apologize if I butchered any of those names, specifically Noah's pick, but yeah, I do apologize. But getting into the main show now, IndyCar. Of course, they've been racing on the St. Petersburg streets for a long time, but the big storyline, can Alex Palou, can he start another quest and try and go for a 4th straight championship and a 5th overall within a 6-year span? His 4 other championships were 2021, and then the last 3 years, 23, 24, and 25. I mean, can he get a good start on the right foot? I mean, Palou, he won 8 races last year, including this season opening race in St. Petersburg as part of his opening stretch of dominance. I mean, if you thought 8 wins in 17 races was crazy, his first 6 races of the year, which included a win at the Indy 500, which was his first oval victory, he won 5 times, and the one race he didn't win in that stretch was at Long Beach, and he finished second to Kyle Kirkwood. And I mean, just after that crazy start, Palou, he really never let off the gas. He clinched the championship after Portland with 2 races to go.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, just such an insurmountable points gap there. I mean, you only had 7 different winners last year in IndyCar in 17 races.
Jeez.
So, and Palou almost won half the schedule. And he could have won 10 races. I mean, he got outdrove and outbeat at Milwaukee by Christian Rasmussen in that great battle. I think of Mid-Ohio, he was leading and got off the track into the dirt with like 6 laps to go, and that let his teammate Scott Dixon get by, and that got his one and only win of the year. So I mean, there's still a couple opportunities that slipped out from under him, but I don't know. I mean, just can he replicate what he did last year? Pretty much is the question. But I mean, who could really challenge him? I mean, I think for starters, you have to look at Kyle Kirkwood. He's one of the best street course racers in modern day IndyCar. I mean, especially as like these street courses. I mean, 2 of his 3 wins last year were on street courses, Long Beach and Detroit. You have St. Petersburg, which is a street course, and then 2 weeks later, you have the inaugural Grand Prix of Arlington, which is another street course. Then it goes around the Dallas Cowboys AT&T Stadium and Globe Life Field, home of the Texas Rangers, which that is going to be a mess in and of itself. But, yeah, plus there's Will Power, who he left Team Penske's number 12 that he had been in all the way back since 2009. He left last year, and now he's in the 26 car, and he's Kirkwood's teammate at Andretti Autosport. He's looking to write a new chapter, and Power, he's also one of the best at street course racing. He's won 45 times in IndyCar, including 16 wins on street courses and a win on the streets of St. Petersburg back in 2010. And then we just talked about him, Sir Scott Dixon, who just got knighted in his home country of New Zealand in the offseason. But he's, the 6-time IndyCar champ. He's one of Alex Palou's 2 teammates at Chip Ganassi Racing. He's won 59 IndyCar races, including 12 on street courses, but he's 0 for 21 in his career at St. Petersburg, which includes a runner-up last year to Palou. So he's gonna be hungry to beat Palou just right out of the gate for sure.
And I mean, any of these people have a chance to win this race because they're all wanting that win on their record.
That's true. Yeah, and I mean, street courses are kind of just the ultimate equalizer just because it's so tight. I mean, you can't get out there and really stretch a lead out. I mean, it's just close quarters racing.
There's no room for error.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, everybody can screw up. We saw Alex Palou screw up at Mid-Ohio last year, and that was a road course. I mean, he screwed up at the road course. He got in the dirt. He lost the race to Dixon, but he still finished second. And he still had a chance to run him back down and pass him again for the win. He couldn't do that. But if Palou did that on a street course, he hits the wall, he's probably done.
Yeah.
And it's a DNF. It's like how he DNF'd at Detroit last year, a week after winning the Indy 500. So,
it's just insane what can happen.
Yeah, but regardless, I can't go against Alex Palou, really, at least right now. I mean, he's been on such a tear throughout IndyCar through really just the last 3 years, although you could say even the last 5. But I'm picking Alex Palou. Evan's picking Louis Foster. He actually let me spin a random wheel generator because he wanted to be surprised. So there he goes. Haley's picking Will Power. Stacy's picking Joseph Newgarden. Bernardo's picking Scott McLaughlin. And Noah, he's picking Alexander Rossi. So, yeah. We'll see how that goes. But, I mean, honestly, IndyCar, I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being just as crazy as the truck race. I mean, who knows? But getting into Circuit of the Americas now for Cup and O'Reilly's, but something to note, Turn 6 at COTA is now marked as out of bounds, along with the rest of the S's section, aka Turns 3, 4, and 5. After a lot of shortcutting through that corner as they figured out as NASCAR didn't enforce that and they could make up time as they headed to Turn 6A, because last year they started running the national course, the shorter layout at COTA instead of the full, really long layout that F1 uses.
Yeah.
But O'Reilly's wise, Connor Zilisch and Shane Van Gisbergen, they're set to duel in junior motorsports cars again this weekend. Zilisch in the 1 car and he actually won the pole for the O'Reilly's race. Zilich in the 1 car as Quapple. This weekend he's in the DGM 91 car, and SVG is in the 9 car. Although Haas factory team, they went 1-2 in the O'Reilly's practice session, but it didn't really matter in qualifying. Zilich and SVG, they'll start 1-2 on the front row tomorrow afternoon, so I mean, we'll see how that turns out. But before that happens, they'll find out where they'll start for the Cup race tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Central Time, 10 a.m. Eastern Time, with practice and qualifying on Amazon Prime. Is it ironic I'm wearing Prime merchandise here? Maybe. But our picks for COTA in the O'Reilly series, I picked Sam Mayer. Evan's picking Sammy Smith. Haley's picking Austin Hill. Stacy's picking Justin Allgaier. Bernardo picked Connor Zilich, who won the pole. And Noah's picking Jesse Love.
We'll hope that goes well.
Yeah, but I mean, we all qualified top 11.
Which, I mean, isn't bad at all.
Yeah, so we're all going to be right up there. But at the same time, that could cause calamity because you have that big uphill run on the front stretch into that tight hairpin in turn 1.
Yeah. So,
and we've seen a lot of calamity in turn 1, especially on restarts, especially on restarts late in the race. I think of on the Cup side in 2023, it was triple overtime to decide that race. It took forever. They finally got it done. And speaking of which, getting into the Cup side of things, you want to know who won at COTA in 2023? The man that everybody is chasing right now, Tyler Reddick. He won at COTA in 2023. He looks to go 3 for 3 in wins to start the NASCAR Cup season. It would be the first time in NASCAR's 78-year history if Reddick could pull that off. He only became the 6th driver in history to win back-to-back the first 2 races of the year. It was the first time since Matt Kenseth in 2009. Absolutely none of them won the 3rd race in a row.
It'll be impressive if it happens.
For sure. But luckily for him, as we mentioned, Circuit of the Americas is this weekend, and it's a place where Reddick not only has won in 2023, and he has 2 poles, including last year, but he's finished no worse than 9th in all 5 Cup races ran at this track. So this is arguably his best track. So if there's any track he'd like to see to try and set some NASCAR history and win 3 races in a row, this is basically what he wants. But I mean, of course, the Cup race is part 2 of the SVG versus Zilich battle this year. SVG, he's trying to go for his 6th road course victory in a row, which would tie Jeff Gordon, who set his record from 1997 to 2000. It would tie Jeff Gordon for the most consecutive road course wins all time. SVG, he finished 6th at COTA last year and then won all 5 other road course races last year, starting with Mexico City last year in June. But yeah, and then Zilich, he's trying to get his first Cup win after dominating the road courses for the most part last year in the O'Reilly Series, including COTA, as he won there in the O'Reilly Series last year, which was his first of many, many wins, on his way to 2nd in the points, which he would have won the O'Reilly's championship last year if not for the playoffs. A good thing that's done, though. Yeah. But yeah, and then there's just the rest of the field. I mean, they are all very capable of pulling this out. That's just how road course racing is. I mean, you have Christopher Bell, who won last year at COTA, and he beat out William Byron, who won at COTA the year prior in 2024. And you have other very capable road course racers, including Michael McDowell, AJ Allmendinger, and Alex Bowman, etc., etc. I mean, but just Cup races have become very competitive, on the road course side ever since SVG, he burst onto the scene and he won the inaugural Chicago street race in 2023. I mean, he comes from Australian supercars, and it's just the techniques he learned over there are still fooling all the other Cup drivers, to this day, even years later. He just has a knack for it. But yeah, our picks for COTA, I'm picking Connor Zilich. He's not done so well in the first 2 races of the year, but I have faith, even though last year was his Cup debut at Circuit of the Americas, and he got taken out about halfway through in a crash along with his own teammate, Daniel Suarez, who, of course, now drives for Spire instead of Trackhouse. Evans picking Kyle Busch, who was also very close to winning this race last year as well. Haley's picking SVG, Stacy's picking Blaney, Bernardo's picking Larson, and Noah is going with last year's winner, Christopher Bell.
I mean, a lot of people in this field have the knowledge and skill to win this race, but I think Bell has a good stance because he did win it last year, and that's when they went to the shorter course.
That is true. That is a very good point, actually.
I think he has more knowledge of what to do.
He is 1-0 on the short course. So that is a very good point that I didn't mention there. But of course, at the same time, turn 6 is now enforced with track limits, just like 3, 4, and 5. But I mean, it's adjustments they have to make.
I mean, yeah, and I don't know how badly this will affect people's driving, because some people can play it safe and not go as far out, but others might just cut it close and get penalized because they went too far.
Yeah, and it ends up being I'm pretty sure if I remember right, it's a drive-through. It's a drive-through penalty down pit road lane, which is a long time, because if I remember correctly, COTA has the largest pit stalls in the Cup Series.
Which sucks.
Yeah. And you have to go pit road speed. So you're going at like 50 miles an hour while everybody else is flying by you at full speed.
So if you're top of the leaderboard, you're dropping down to...
in the back, pretty much, yeah. It's just a matter of how much are you willing to push it. How much are you willing to push it to try and gain as much speed as possible through the S's? Because if you step over that line, you're going to get penalized. And NASCAR's officiating has really tried to do a better job at trying to make, these ball and strike calls, it's like, you course cutted, you stepped over the line, you're going to get penalized.
And I mean, I see... if you're in the top, you play more conservative because there's no reason to try and make up more time. But if you're in the back, I could see you trying to push that a little bit to try and gain more place.
I mean, it also kind of depends on the situation. It depends on how early it is in the race. If there's only a couple laps to go. How close second place is behind you as the leader, and how much pressure they're willing to put on you, because they can pressure you into a mistake.
That is true.
That can cost you the race. So it's a game. It's a game at every track, but it's especially emphasized at a road course race where it's technical. You have left turns, you have right turns, you have tight turns, you have long straightaways. You have to figure out where's your braking points.
Yeah.
How do you nail apexes? How do you set up one corner so that you're ready for the next few corners after that to try and, what's your purpose? Are you trying to defend somebody from passing you? Or are you trying to make a passing opportunity? And, you also have to be mindful of your equipment, especially your brakes. It's up there with the short, flat tracks like Martinsville and Phoenix next week, and New Hampshire. It's up there like with your brakes. I mean, you have to manage your equipment, but especially your brakes, as you're doing a lot of that. You're doing a lot of heavy braking and gear shifting and everything. So you just have to manage your equipment and manage your stuff, and put yourself in the right position and try not to make a mistake or try and force others into a mistake. And although, it's only 95 laps, you might think that's not that long. It still is a while, and it's mentally and physically exhausting.
And it's still a long track.
Yes.
It's longer than most tracks, which is...
even on the short course, it's still longer than a lot of tracks. It's still over a couple miles long, and the full course when they ran it was like 3.4 miles long. So.
Yeah, but it's still 2.4 something.
Yeah, it's still very long. I mean, it's one of the longest tracks in the series, but just the amount of effort and just brutality that this track will put on you. I mean, it has that shine on it, being it's an F1 track, and it's like, well, okay, like it doesn't register in your brain that it's gonna cause issues, but once you actually get out there and run the course, it's like, you know, it takes a beating. And being in Austin, Texas, it doesn't matter that, you know, it's end of February into March, like
it's gonna be hot.
Yes, like for like O'Reilly's practice and qualifying, it was like 85 degrees, which you might be thinking 85 degrees isn't that bad, but the cars essentially act as like an oven. It can get between like 120 and 150 degrees inside that car. And although drivers, they have like cooling hoses in their helmets and they have like cool suits, those have been known to fail. And usually every time, like, we're either like, it's like a hot race like in Texas, or like out in like Sonoma, or maybe even like out when we run in San Diego out in June, like there seems to always be at least a couple cool suits that fail.
Yeah.
And it ends up being not a fun time, especially depending on how much of the race you run without your cool suit.
Yeah.
So I mean, it can take you out of the car just by sheer heat exhaustion. And I look at Brad Keselowski in the Cup race. He's going to start the race, but he's still recovering from his broken leg, which could get compromised depending on how bad the heat is and if his cool suit fails. And, I mean, he has Joey Hand on standby if he needs it, but I don't know. It's just, it's a technical place. It doesn't look like it at first glance, but it's a very technical place. That's just how all road courses roll. Road courses, street courses, whatever, so.
Yeah. I mean, time will tell what's going to happen.
Yeah. But next Monday, not only it's the 50th episode of this podcast, so thanks to everybody who's stuck around for this long from the beginning, but next Monday we'll recap all the lefts and rights and maybe ups and downs, who knows, upside downs, I don't know, but yeah, we'll recap it from this weekend, what happened in COTA for Cup and O'Reilly's, and what happened on the streets of St. Petersburg for IndyCar, and for the first time ever, the Truck Series, as they make their debut on a street course, which is gonna be probably chaotic. Is it gonna be a good chaotic, or is it gonna be like an absolute nightmare, and the Truck Series is never gonna come back?
I mean, I'm just interested to see how these truck drivers will manage this street course that they've, like I said earlier, they haven't had that much time to recognize what they should do.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, that's all we got for today's episode of the Throttle podcast. Make sure you listen and download and tune in on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube. Check out the Chill Photography and Throttle podcast Instagrams and TikToks. And yeah, that's all we got for today's episode of the Throttle podcast. Recap on Monday from all the lefts and the rights and twists and turns from COTA, the road course, and St. Petersburg, the street course. And that's all we got. Thank you to Noah.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Have a good night.